So one of the most common symptoms, probably the top 5 that I see that anxiety sufferers face, are heart palpitations or sometimes skipped heartbeats. Now, with heart palpitations, it can be absolutely terrifying. It can be really easy to think that you're on the onset of a heart attack, your heart's gonna explode. I mean, the feelings are very strong. What I want to share within this video is how actually anxiety causes these heart palpitations or these skipped heartbeats, and more importantly, what to do to make this go away once and for all. So let's get started. Now, the first thing to understand is, look, don't use these videos as a way to self-diagnose. You should be getting everything ruled out by your doctor. Typically, I find those that the people that reach out to me that I get in contact with, they've gotten everything ruled out by their doctor. In fact, they've oftentimes gone several times to their doctors only to get a clean bill of health. But the first thing is very important is don't use these videos as a way to self-diagnose. Really get everything ruled out by your doctor. Make sure you got a clean bill of health. And with that said, if you really want to know more about what I'm about to share, if you really want to go deep into how to overcome this, really understanding not just heart palpitations, but other symptoms, I'll put a link down below to my free book. It really breaks it down step by step, what's happening, and more importantly, how to overcome this. Again, this book is free. I'm not charging you. This is for you. It's something that would have really helped me during my recovery journey. Now, with heart palpitations, it's actually really interesting. When I had my first panic attack, I think it was around 22. And the first thing I was terrified of, oh my God, I'm gonna die. Then the second thing was my heart's gonna explode because I just experienced such intense heart palpitations. And anxiety just created such strong symptoms that I'd never experienced that before. Now, you may be experiencing heart palpitations, which I find majority of the people experience, but once in a while, some people experience skipped heartbeats. I want you to know that as long as you've gotten everything ruled out by your doctor, it's still an offset of anxiety. Don't get too focused on the fact that you have a heart palpitation or someone else has a skipped heartbeat, that you guys are struggling with two different things. Again, getting everything ruled out by your doctor shows that it's actually just part of the anxiety. It's just the way your body manifests what's going on. And so typically what I find is people that experience heart palpitations tend to have it when they experience panic attacks. So I always find people that have panic attacks, heart palpitations, it tends to be one of the scariest symptoms for them. Now that's not always true. Even if they have panic attacks and the panic attacks subside, or they don't have panic attacks, palpitations is probably one of the most common symptoms people experience. And so it's really easy to think that you're on the onset of a heart attack, or that your heart can't handle it, or that your heart is always high. So that must mean that something's actually wrong. Now, the truth of what's actually happening is that your body is just producing extra adrenaline. And so what happens is that when it's producing extra adrenaline, your heart's gonna beat faster. So one of the most important things to understand is the mechanics of what's happening. Again, it's very important for you to understand what's happening. Otherwise, if you don't know what's happening, you're always going to be terrified of, what if my heart palpitations is the onset of something else? What if it's something else? Even though you've gotten everything ruled out by your doctor. So it's very important to understand the mechanics of anxiety first and foremost. So why is this happening? Well, you have to understand, when people are experiencing anxiety, they're going through this fight or flight mode. There's also a freeze response, but I'm not going to get into that in this video. So there's this fight or flight response where it's your body's natural innate survival mechanism designed to protect itself. So if you see a tiger, you want to run away from it, or you're going to brace yourself and you're going to fight it. Your body needs to do some physiological changes before it starts that, and it needs to do it instantly. So that's what happens when you're experiencing anxiety. Now I know what you're thinking, Shaan, that makes sense, but there's no tiger. This is happening for no reason. So clearly there must be something wrong. That's not necessarily true. So if it's happening when there's no tiger, there is a tiger, but it's not a real life tiger. The tiger is actually the symptom itself. So when you have a panic attack or when you have these heart palpitations, sure, there's no threat, but the threat is the heart itself. It's the fear of, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if my palpitations are there and I want it to go away? What happens if my heart skips a beat constantly? And so that becomes a threat. So you have to understand that your nervous system doesn't know the difference between what's a real threat and what's a made up threat or like a perceived threat. It's all about how you respond. Now, when your body's in this fight or flight mode, when it's in the survival mode, it starts releasing stress hormones. One of the most common ones is adrenaline or noradrenaline. And so what happens is that when your body produces adrenaline, one of the organs that's very sensitive to it is the heart. So if you pump more adrenaline in your nervous system or in your body, your heart will palpitate more. So your heart, there's nothing actually physically wrong with your heart. Your heart is just responding to the anxiety. Now, what that means is that if you fix the anxiety, the heart stuff resolves itself. But what happens is that when people are struggling with anxiety, they become so hyper aware of their heart that they don't even focus on the anxiety. And what that does is that keeps the anxiety cycle alive. Now, I'll admit, I was the worst when it came to this. I would sleep with a blood pressure cuff. At the time, we didn't have Apple Watches, but I could only imagine checking my heart rate on my Apple Watch every second I could. But once the anxiety goes away, I hardly ever check it. I'd sometimes even forget I have the feature for it. So when I was struggling with anxiety, I was constantly checking my heart rate. I was constantly checking my blood pressure. I'd wake up in the middle of the night to check it because I would wake up with these panic attacks. But the mistake I made was that I was too focused on the symptom. I was too focused on the heart, but the heart was healthy. I had everything ruled out. So if I just focused on the anxiety, that would have made all of it go away. So if you really want to know more about how to make all of this go away, you can follow me on my Instagram. I'll put a link down below. I'm giving tons of advice. I'm doing a bunch of lives, really guiding people, really showing people success stories, and really giving value on how to help people fully overcome this. So you can definitely check that out. And so the next thing I want to say is that once you understand the mechanics of anxiety, well, then you have to understand that your heart will palpitate just for a little bit longer, but not getting fearful of the palpitation. You don't want to get fearful of the symptom in itself. If you could focus on the anxiety, what I mean by focus on the anxiety is if you could be aware that the problem is actually the anxiety, and if you can respond correctly to the anxiety, all these symptoms go away. That there's nothing actually physically wrong with you. It's actually just a response of anxiety. So if you just show the anxiety that there's no threat, if you can teach it that there's nothing to be fearful of, it will back down. One of the keys to understand here is that, look, as debilitating as your anxiety is, its one job is to keep you alive. And if it's unsure, it's gonna fire because it doesn't want to be wrong. It wants to protect you. So I know how debilitating these symptoms were. They were for me too, and how debilitating they are for you. But if you can kind of admire the human body and really admire the fact of, wow, no matter what you do, your body will protect you no matter what. It's there to keep you alive, and it will do anything and everything to keep you alive. It's kind of amazing. And so if you could just focus on the anxiety, if you could just focus on the response, all this ends up going away. So how do you do that? Well, just let it palpitate. Just let it palpitate. One of my biggest fears was, yeah, but if it's palpitating that much, what if there's some damage? What if there's some heart damage? Look, your heart's a very, very strong organ. In fact, if it needed to palpitate like this for a very long time, it will. I've worked with people around the world that have had this issue for years. And once we correct a few things, this thing is gone, their hearts are fine. Their hearts are fine. They go back to living. This isn't an issue. Their hearts are absolutely healthy. Another reason why this is often a fear is because oftentimes there's family members or you know of somebody that's had a heart attack before. And so that narrative kind of fuels the anxiety. But you have to understand, doctors are amazing at ruling out heart stuff. They're actually so precise with it. It's amazing. Being alive in this day and age, it's actually incredible to see the medical advances that they have with the heart. So if you're worried about a structural issue or a physical issue, have some peace of mind that, look, when it comes to these kinds of tests, doctors are very, very good at it. These tests are very, very precise. So that should give you comfort in the fact that there's nothing actually wrong with the heart. Now that you know there's nothing wrong with the heart, you can focus on the anxiety. Now you're heading the right direction. Now you can overcome this. Now you can become free. This is how people recover. They don't focus on the symptoms, they focus on the anxiety. So if you really want to know more, and if you really are like, okay, Shaan, this makes sense, but I'm having a tough time doing this on my own. I would really like to have some guidance or step-by-step direction on how to overcome this. Well, if you want, you could just apply for my mentorship and I can guide you step-by-step and just get you to recovery myself. I have a team of people. All these individuals have gone through exactly what you've gone through and they've came out of it. And now they're helping people around the world overcome it. So why don't we just guide you step-by-step? Why try to figure this out? Why try to watch these videos, piecemeal this, get some advice, not really sure if it's accurate or not, and just try to figure this out on your own? One of the things I'm so jealous of is the fact that I didn't get the guidance. I had to figure it out. If I could have had somebody just take me by the hand and was like, yeah, Shaan, I know exactly what's happening. I have your best interest at heart. I don't want you to be dependent on these things. Let me just show you how to get out and just go back to living. What I would have done, what I would have really done if I had that opportunity. So I'm kind of envious of you guys and, you know, like I guess the opportunities that are out now. So if you really want to know more, click the link down below and apply for a mentorship. When you click the link, it'll take you to a short video followed by an application page. Fill out the application. My team and I will review it. If you're a good fit, we'll have just a free strategy session with you just to make sure that what you're going through is actually anxiety, just making sure what your biggest struggles are and really guiding you step by step a little bit more. And if you're a good fit, if you really want our help, we'll guide you to recovery. If you're not a good fit, we'll be completely honest with you. We'll give you some resources. We may even recommend you to somebody else. So the link is down below. Check it out. I'll see you in the next one.